Welcome to Leaders' Questions.
Margaret, Cian O'Callaghan. Minister, you're at it again. You've just been caught out as a government using dodgy housing data, talking about 40,000 homes completed last year. And now, just now in the Dáil, you've told us that work commenced on 60,000 homes in 2024. That's using the same dodgy data based on commencement notices filed and then housing sites lying idle, which has been happening all around the country. Now, don't take my word for that, Minister. This is what Property Industry Ireland, the lobbyists for the investment funds that you listen to so much, this is what they said at the weekend about the 60,000 commencement notices in 2024. They said they will not, in fact, manifest in completed units. That's the lobbyists for the developers that you listen to all the time saying those 60,000 homes will not, in fact, end up in completed homes. So you might listen to them if you won't listen to us. Minister, last Thursday, people started sleeping in their cars in Leixlip. Dozens of people, desperate to own their own home, queued for days for the chance to buy one of just 31 homes. These homes were not cheap. They were ranging in price from €460,000 to €525,000. But when they went on sale on Saturday morning, they were gone within minutes, and scores of people were left disappointed. Minister, what happened in Leixlip is a microcosm for the chaos in housing all across the country. Homes priced at €500,000 are not affordable for most people. Still, even when they go on sale, people must sleep in their cars for days to have any chance of buying them. People are increasingly desperate, and this government has nothing to say to reassure them. In fact, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael spent the election campaign misleading them, repeatedly telling people that 40,000 homes would be delivered. You didn't even come close to that figure. Now people can see that they were conned. Your latest proposals to address this are tax breaks for developers and sweetheart deals for investment funds. Well, Minister, this is not the policy reset that you claim your government claims it to be. It is in fact Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael reverting to type. We're constantly told there isn't alternatives to getting this type of finance, but there are other options. A report by Housing Europe, commissioned by one of your own MEPs, by the way, goes into great detail about the billions of euro in funding from European Union funding streams that could be used to build affordable housing. So why is the government ignoring this? You don't have to double down on failure. My questions, Minister, are: do you think people voted for more tax breaks for investment funds? Why weren't you upfront about these proposals during the election campaign? And as an alternative, will the government use the European Union funding streams to finance the construction of housing that is affordable?
Thank you, Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Deputy O'Callaghan, for your question. What I said to the other deputies is that any incoming government should examine all of the policy options that will achieve the central objective, where I think there's consensus in this House. How do we increase the overall supply to meet the targets that have been set over a series of years? And we are open to constructive feedback and engagement on that. And what we've said as a government is that the Minister for Housing, with others, Minister for Finance, myself as Minister for Public Expenditure and others, will try and access all options to give that significant uplift in supply, which is central to achieving affordability across our economy. And I want to acknowledge the difficulties that many aspiring homeowners face, and again, the many people and couples that were left waiting with bad news at Leixlip in the last number of days, which is reflected across the country. And it won't improve if we continue with policies that don't unlock supply. And that's why there will be a two-pronged approach from this government when it comes to delivering supply and the policy options that we take. As I've said previously, we need to look at the NDP to accelerate infrastructure delivery in our economy. How do we unlock transport-oriented housing development where we have built transport networks in cities or in urban areas? And how do we progress current projects where we could unlock further housing supply? How do we address the shortages that we have with water infrastructure in our towns and regions across our country that will help unlock further housing supply? These are the policy options that we are taking, which will involve a bigger role for the state, the bigger role for the state agencies, Irish Water, Transport Infrastructure Ireland, the National Transport Authority, the Land Development Agency. We're absolutely central to our policy is the state's role in the provision of housing supply. But we're being honest with people. If we want to reach between 50 and 60,000 homes per year, we need to make sure Ireland is an attractive place for private investment as well. And we've seen that weaken in recent years, if we're all honest about that. And that's had an impact on the overall housing supply environment. It won't improve with you attacking private investors like you've done in your initial contribution. It won't happen if you continue the attack on private investors like you've done in recent years, or your constant opposition to lots of constructive proposals which have come from government, like the Land Development Agency. When Minister O'Brien was progressing the planning legislation, you and your party were central to slowing this down, trying to undermine it, and trying to create further barriers to the bureaucracy of planning, where we needed to see progress on that in recent years. So let me be clear, it will be a bigger role for the state, but if we're going to unlock further housing supply, we need to ensure that we unlock private investment as well.
Minister.
And that's the position of government.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy to respond. Deputy O'Callaghan.
Minister, do you know that the countries in Europe with the largest rental sectors, the most landlords, the most investors, are also the countries in Europe with the strongest forms of rent regulation? Do you know that? Do you know, in terms of constructive proposals, about those proposals in the Housing Europe report, commissioned by one of your MEPs, about how to get billions of euro of funding into affordable housing? Do you know about those, and why aren't you taking on board those constructive proposals? Minister, I asked you about you said about the 60,000 homes commenced last year. That's not correct. 60,000 commencement notices were filed, but there was not 60,000 homes commenced last year. Many of those sites are lying idle. Will you withdraw what you said on that? Because we do not need more misinformation and misclaims from this government. Will you answer my questions, Minister? Do you think people voted for tax breaks for investment funds? Why didn't you mention those during the election? And why weren't you upfront about those proposals?
Deputy Minister to respond.
Thanks, Deputy. As I've said previously, my central point on commencement notices is that we have a strong pipeline in place for supply, with commencement notices issuing of 60,000 new homes. And feedback suggests that there's unquestionably significantly more work on site than before, aided by the government's development levy and water connection waivers. And it's not just a matter of if, but a matter of when these commencement notices will translate to real supply. But that will be some supply maybe this year and next year. But I'm talking about the next 5 years, or indeed the years after that. How do we develop a housing policy which gets us to between 50 and 60,000 homes per year? To your question on renters, I've been clear to all of the others. Any policy option we take is here to protect renters, but also to make sure that we develop more rental accommodation in our country with an increased population. And we need to have private investment there to accelerate that as well, and you're not being honest about that point. So let me be clear, we'll be strengthening the role of the state to increase housing supply and trying to complement that by having housing policies that accelerate private investment as well.
Thank you, Minister.
Like, share, and subscribe, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.